From the depths of the desert, the iRacing Off-Road Championship Series picks itself up and heads to the rolling hills of Michigan. Today, live from Bark River International Raceway, drivers get set to hit the halfway mark of the inaugural campaign in this exciting championship series. With that said, we welcome you to RaceSpot TV and the iRacing Esports Network, where my name is Kankipati, joined as always by the one and only Josh Lee. And before we get underway with the pro drivers, we have the All-Stars ready to go once more. Josh, it's so great to be back. Wednesday evenings highlighted in my calendar. What are we expecting today at potentially the most technical track in 2022?
And it really is. This track is a lot different than the other three, that we've seen. Very different from Crandon, very different from Wild West, very different from Wild Horse Pass. I think we can expect to see a lot of that same door-to-door, a lot of that same exciting action that we've seen, but also maybe a little bit more of a spread in the speed on each of these drivers because, like you mentioned, very technical track. It is a driver's track especially, too, that these drivers are going to have to focus on.
Let's talk more about the road that we're going on over the course of this summer. These All-Stars mixing the cars up, unlike the pro drivers, which are sticking in the 900 horsepower Pro 4 four-wheel drive machine. Our drivers today making their way back to the 400 horsepower two-wheel drive Pro 2 Lite for what is going to be a difficult race. The second half of the season will see us mix things up, reverse the orders for some of the track that we've been to already, but the road ends where it began when we head back to Crandon, this time in the Beetle Light at the midway point through August. Let's talk though about today's venue, 1.5 miles in length, tied with Crandon as the longest track of them all. It's a technical one. Drivers are going to be challenged here today through the 12 turns, and the composition of the track is what makes it interesting. The sand and clay mixture that dries out very quickly. It's going to cause a lot of track evolution through the course of our races tonight.
And Arjuna, it might not be the most technical portion of this technical track, but right off of turns 2 and 3, right off of that little left-hander to right-hander is one of the biggest jumps that these drivers will make in the Off-Road Championship Series. It's exciting as they dive into turn 6.
We talk about it all the time, controlling the car in the air to set yourself up for what comes next. It's so important with these big machines, balance and move the weight in the correct ways over the course of the race. But this is where we're racing. Let's talk about the grid for the All-Stars as they get ready to get us underway. What a race we had last week. Luke Knupp, Zachary Drapkin, 1 and 2 in 2 consecutive races. They'll line up on the front row with the Keenan Kusin 03 Traction GG machine lining up inside of Jim Beaver Esports' Blake Reynolds in the 66. Adam Briggs in the 777 lines up alongside Ryan Burden in the second of the Traction.GG machines, while back in 7th we'll see Elliot Watson alongside with Mikey Lawrence. Travis Brown, Mr. Moonhead himself, does grace us with his presence here today. He'll be alongside Trevor Teal, a driver known for his own sort of shenanigans. Brendan Lichtenberg for i5G will line up inside of Michael Cozy Jr. for the Logitech G Altus Esports number 99. Behind them, sharing row number 7, Scott Lear for Penny Arcade, alongside with Wes Graham, Justin Melillo, and Jim DeChamp in the Nitro Circus Sim Racing Star Car, line up 15th and 16th, while a man that has plenty of involvement in sim racing, Landon Huffman, shares row 9 with Ron Capps in the Napa Auto Parts number 28. That's our field of 18 stacked up and ready to go. Plenty of big names and familiar faces. If you want to join the fun, if you're excited about this type of racing, head over to iRacing.com today, where new memberships are 40% off. Get on your road to the virtual checkered flag. Josh Lee, as we get ready to go, we look on board with some of these drivers. We talk about Pro 2, two-wheel drive, 400 horsepower a lot. What does that actually mean for the drivers here today?
It means it's going to be a little bit more difficult to get that power down to the dirt. And Pro 2s, different than these Pro 2 Lights that these drivers will be racing here tonight in the All-Star Series. Pro 2s, they have roughly about the same horsepower as the Pro 4s, just two-wheel drive in the rear tires instead of all-wheel drive on all 4 tires. These Pro 2 Lights are a little bit slower. It is a little bit easier to get that grip, but of course these drivers aren't going to be going nearly as fast as the Pro 4s later on tonight.
This is one of the highlights of the 2022 season, a track that's hosted off-road short course racing for now almost 50 years and counting. Every year in the middle of August, drivers from not just around the US, around the globe descend on Bark River to make their stamp on this historic track. Today, it hosts round number 7 in the iRacing All-Star Off-Road Championship Invitational. It's Drapkin at Knupp at the front of the field, ready to resume the battle that we saw in 7 days ago. It's a long wait before we get underway. Pace trucks already off the track and leaving the field in control of the young number 29, Luke Knupp. They wind themselves through the final couple of corners, ready to get us underway with 18 cars, drivers from across sim racing, real world racing, and everything in between, still waiting to get underway. Drapkin and Knupp getting into the zone as they build themselves up towards that starting zone. Here we go, up towards the jump, up towards the green flag. We're racing at Bark River. It's a good start from Knupp, but Drapkin already alongside. Into the right-hander they go, working towards Cemetery turn. Knupp clears Drapkin comfortably into the lead.
Not nearly as much of a jump through that first corner as we'll see in the Pro 4s later on. Knupp was able to slide right in front of Zachary Drapkin and take that lead and run away with it now. How about Keenan Kuzin side by side with eNASCAR's Blake Reynolds there for third? They'll settle it out to single file as they go over the whoop section, over to the right they go. Everybody's starting to settle their way on, but we've got Briggs and Watson side by side for P6. Here they come over the big jump. Not nearly as much air as we'll see later, but still substantial as they slam back onto the dirt.
And Josh said this in week 1, throttle to raise the nose of the car, brake to lower the nose. It's about inertia, something you do in the real world, carries forward to the sim as well. Cozy Jr., Brown battling for 10th and 11th positions, but we are single filed between the top two. They're side by side for third. Cousin and Reynolds still battling door to door, sliding his way on through. Blake Reynolds tries to get the place done.
Cousin back to the inside, they door bang once, leaning on him is Arrow, trying to get by Blake Reynolds. Back over to the left. Here is where they can really use that berm to their advantage. Blake Reynolds tried to do it there, trying to slingshot himself for this left-hander right here. Coming off of that berm, getting a little bit too far up the road and into that barrier is, I believe, Adam Briggs, and now he goes around in the back, or somebody's around back there.
It is the 777 for back-to-back weeks troubles for Adam Briggs in that next level racing machine. This time at the very least though, he's not up and over, still at least on all 4 wheels and able to get up and go, but now down in 11th position. We still watch as Reynolds works on Cousin for the final step of the podium. Remember, a full invert for the second race of the evening always makes things exciting, but the two drivers that control the tempo of this race have experienced it all before. They carved through the invert 7 days ago.
It's the exact same two names, Knupp and Drapkin, which is expected. They are the two drivers in this field that have the most experience when it comes to virtual off-road racing and real-world off-road racing at that, too. So it's expected to see both of them up at the front. Here's what happened to Briggs, and it looked like just 3 wide coming over that start-finish line. Jump Arjuna is never going to work well, and unfortunately, Briggs got the short end of the stick there.
Yeah, but good recovery. I tell you what, it would have been much easier to just let that car continue going stage left, but he brought it back into control, brought it back onto track. Across the line once more with time ticking down. You can see left side, a couple of drivers working forward, a couple of drivers sliding back, but inside of the top 4, no movement just yet. Drapkin up in the air and almost nose pointed to the heavens, brings it back down, lands, but gives up some ground to Knupp in the race lead.
Drapkin now gonna have to try and get that back as we go on board with your red line oil number 56, and back over into the whoop section they go over to the left hand side, and Drapkin now 8/10 back, and he's gonna need to really set his sight on Knupp in front, because we know these two, they very rarely make any mistakes. So Drapkin's either gonna have to try and find time where Knupp isn't, which is something he can't rely on, or hope that Knupp ends up making a mistake, which is also something that he can't really rely on. Drapkin's in a tough situation here.
It's something that we talk about a lot, is the fact that these two drivers, yes, plenty of real-world experience that's carried them forward to this All-Star Off-Road Championship Series. However, they are two very experienced sim drivers as well. It would not have been a total shock to see them fighting it out with the rest of the 22 cars that will make the field for the championship race later tonight. Look at the lines that they're taking. You can tell they're comfortable. You can tell that they've dialed in the practice, in effect, for what is an invitational race. We're loosely tracking a championship. These drivers fighting for bragging rights.
And they'll continue to fight as the 56 gets a little bit too much up in the air with that right front. He's able to settle it back down onto the dirt as Kuzin and Reynolds continue to be close behind. And Drapkin trying to still narrow that gap in. He's trying to get maybe a little bit more to the inside, going through that first opening sweeping corner here at Bark River. But it's not working too much for him, as he still has about an 8/10 gap back to Knupp. And now battle for third between Kuzin and Reynolds heats up once again, up and over the jump. Kuzin gonna play defense as they go through the right-hander, able to hold off Reynolds for yet another corner.
And while these Pro 2 lights are maybe a little bit easier to handle than their Pro 2 counterparts, they're still not easy by any means. Rear-wheel drive only. Reynolds with a great launch, hugging the inside and forcing Kuzin to try and give him just that moment too much room for Reynolds to pounce. Not going to get it done just yet. We jump on board with the eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing Series driver. See the dirt on the visor, see the lines being taken, see the progression of the track as well with this unique mixture that we talk about at Bark River, the sand and clay. It changes the actual feeling of the car, the grip that you're going to get through the course of these races in a very different way to what we've seen so far over the course of this season. Up the hill they go, in towards that monster launch through the right-hand corner. Reynolds looking nice and tidy.
Arjuna, what I just saw on this onboard with Reynolds as he goes into the inside of Kuzin, aggressive move for that third spot, but he is going to take it. He really used that berm that I talked about last week. I talked about it at the opening of the show as well, that these pro drivers are going to use to get a slingshot. Reynolds did exactly that to get right up to the back bumper of Keenan Kuzin. I think he's getting some help from his Jim Beaver Esports teammates that'll be competing in the Off-Road Championship Series later on tonight.
He experiences this and watches on with a bit more knowledge, able to back him up. While these two fight for third, they've closed for the race lead. It's down to just half a second. Drapkin within 2 car lengths of Knupp as they fly themselves over yet another jump. Such a technical, tricky course to challenge themselves with. Knupp will leave a door open. Drapkin doesn't need a second invitation, but with the up and under, it doesn't work. Knupp holds on.
Beautiful defense for the 29 of Knupp. There's that berm. Both of those drivers going to use it to get a slingshot to the left. Expect a lot more of the Off-Road Championship Series competitors to really use that to their advantage. Here in the All-Stars, we're seeing it from the drivers that have that virtual experience as well. Now back on board with the Red Line Oil on board with Zachary Drapkin. What can Knupp do? 3/10 is the gap. Can Knupp play defense enough? He goes wide. Perfect opportunity for Drapkin to the bottom.
And out of the groove, Knupp will slide his way to second for the time being, trying to fight this one back as they're side by side for the lead once more. Knupp will slide back on through. Now, was that a mistake? Was it a calculated decision to run wide and get the traction off the corner to build up the momentum? Sliding once more, Drapkin unable to get the throw that he had done just one lap ago. And while they battle, Blake Reynolds closes all the while. The fight for the lead might not be a 2-horse race, a 3-horse race. Very, very shortly, they come to the line. Drapkin trying with all his might, but Luke Knupp should be making it 3 races in a row. Not long left to go.
And Drapkin back to the bottom, goes for the slider. Not going to be nearly enough for Knupp as the 29 gets a beautiful run through that right-hander. And now through 2 left-handers left to go. Knupp's in the catbird seat.
He's just driving within himself. Although, having said that, off to the wall this time by. Photo finish at the line and in the air. Luke Knupp makes it 3 wins on the bout. The margin of victory, 0.09 of a second. Zachary Drapkin, after domination to kick off this iRacing All-Star Off-Road Series, has been pegged back. The young Luke Knupp continues to impress here in the virtual world.
Both Knupp and Drapkin have been impressing, but how about Blake Reynolds P3, Keenan Kuzin P4, Elliott Watson sleeper from 7th to 5th. He gained 2 spots on the night.
Plenty of impressive drives, but remember, as they still fight to work their way through, Huffman in front of Caps with, I believe, Justin Melillo really getting all sorts of wibble-wobbly on the run through into the final couple of corners. Full invert will mix things up. We know that is for sure. For Drapkin and Knupp, they've got to carve their way forward once more. Under a 1/10 of a second, though, Knupp takes his 3rd win on the bounce. Drapkin settles for 2nd, but his streak of podiums that dates back to race 1 of this series continues. Blake Reynolds closed at the very final stages, taking advantage of the fighting up front to get to 3rd, only 1 second back, while Keenan Kuzin was dropped, finishes 4th. Impressive for Traction GG. Elliott Watson in 5th, Ryan Burden in 6th with Trevor Teal, Mikey Lawrence, Michael Cozy Jr., and Adam Briggs, the top 10 for Briggs, able to recover after another incident for him. Travis Brown in 11th, Scott Lear behind him for Penny Arcade with Wes Graham, Brendan Lichtenberg, Landon Huffman, Justin Melillo, and Ron Capps, the 17 that finished on the lead lap. Only one, the 111, finishes a couple of laps down in that Nitro Circus Star car. Well, the All-Stars have done one race. It's time to bring more chaos to the party. It's time to go for the full invert, race 2 of the evening. That's coming up next after a message from our partners. Thank Vision Wheels for their support of the 2022 iRacing Off-Road Championship Series, and Vision Wheels has partnered with iRacing.com to hand out the Vision Wheel Pole Award, given to the driver in each race that posts the fastest lap in qualifying before we get underway. Well, welcome back to the rolling hills of Michigan. My name is Arjuna Kankipati. Alongside in the RaceBot TV commentary booth is Joshua Lee, and we thank you for joining us on the iRacing Esports Network as we get set to hit the halfway marker of this 2022 campaign. It's been a wild ride, and as always, before the Pro Championship drivers take to the track, the All-Stars get us hyped up and ready to go. Race number 1 did that for sure. With the full invert, what can we expect for race number 2 other than chaos and carnage? We are about to find out. Let's roll you through, though, the starting grid for round number 8 of this iRacing Off-Road All-Star Invitational, where Jim DeChamp in the 111 will line up on the front row alongside with Ron Capps, Justin Melillo, and Landon Huffman right behind them. Brendan Lichtenberg struggled in the first race. He'll line up inside of Wes Graham on row 3, while rolling from 7th, Scott Lear in the Penny Arcade number 18. Travis Brown for Moonhead in 8th with Adam Briggs, Michael Cozy Jr. making up the rest of the top 10. Mikey Lawrence, Trevor Teal, 11th and 12th positions. From 13th, it's the Traction GG91 of Ryan Burden, alongside the impressive Elliott Watson for Team Yokohama. Keenan Kuzin for Traction GG's 03 machine lines up inside of Blake Reynolds, the 3rd driver on the podium in race 1 of the evening. Zachary Drapkin, Luke Knupp have it all to do once more with the full invert. They will look to dice their way forward. We look at the cars once more, and we saw some track evolution. We saw the way that drivers migrated lines over the course of these short races. We've had a reset in track condition, which potentially, Josh Lee, will do that process all over again.
We'll see more of it when we get all 24 competitors in the Off-Road Championship Series on the course in Pro 4s, but we're getting a little bit of a taste of it here in the Pro 2 lights, and I think we're really going to see what the drivers in the Off-Road Championship Series might do when that track starts to gloss over, starts to get that rubber worked in, because through those sweeping corners, through those whip sections, they're going to need to start making some different lines, especially in the Pro 4s when they really start to lose grip.
I keep telling myself that the reason they call them the whoops is because when you ride over them, you're just going whoop-de, whoop-de, whoop-de. But they, in a way that you don't have the challenge in a motocross bike, for example, right? Because you can use your body weight in a way that you can't do with these cars. It's where the finesse on the pedals becomes so important as you try and get through those sections, Josh, with the most speed possible.
It's about choosing the right line as well, because if you have somebody in front of you that's maybe a little bit slower through that whoop section than you are, you have to make a decision where you gotta go. If you're trying to turn mid-jump off of a whoop, you're going to be in for a bad time. That truck's going to get upset, and you're not going to gain any time on the driver in front. So you kind of have to pick what line you're going to choose through the whoop section before you even get to it. Shades of motocross and supercross, but a lot different when you're doing it in these pro trucks.
It is very, very different. As we've seen so far, the gulf, the deltas in speed in this All-Star Invitational, much more significant than when it comes to the Pro Off-Road Championship Series drivers. It means with this full invert, don't count out Zachary Drapkin and Luke Knupp from leading before we even finish the first full lap of the race. That's how exciting these races tend to be, and as the cars get set to work their way down to the starting zone, pace truck's already off. We're not technically racing just yet. It's one of those nervy moments, Josh, when you build up the anticipation, you're ready to go racing.
It's a long, long way to that restart zone. Some leagues will choose to restart back right as that pace truck comes off, but here in the World Championship and here in the All-Stars, the restart zone is set for right after this left-hander they're getting ready to go through.
And you bring up an important point. We've set the start zones. We'll talk more about that later. It is the 111, the Nitro Circus star car of Jim DeChamp that will get us underway with the second race of the evening. The All-Stars are ready to battle at Bark River. Good start from Caps around the outside. Lichtenberg tries to send it down the inside in the battle for third. On board with the 18 as they fly their way down into the left-hand hairpin that beckons them now. Single file within the top two. They're 3 wide for third on back.
Almost 4 wide for third there as Moonhead gets on to Landon Huffman on that inside line. Huffman holds his own along the outside. He'll send Mooncar himself down into a 4 wide moment for the 5th position. Battling outside the top 5. Now Huffman gonna fall victim to brakes for 4th as they all go over the jump. Still nobody out of this race, but everybody's fighting for real estate.
That was a very tidy 4 wide jump. You would have thought more chaos, but Moonhead's all sorts of loose. Briggs will run into him. Still trying to keep on all 4 is Moonhead, who just about does that. On board with that 777 who was involved in carnage in race number 1. Look at all of this fighting. DeChamp continues to lead. Melillo's up to second in the Traction GG car. Almost 4 wide once more. Knupp and Drapkin, 10th and 11th spots.
Oh, and Briggs is going to get spun again. So is Travis Brown, and there's more contact back from there. Briggs up and over, saves it on all 4 tires, but flipped around at the end of the field will be Moonhead and Travis Brown. He's trying to get it saved on the sidewalls, but he can't do it as Michael Cosi Jr. tries to get his way up through the field.
And DeChamp is out of the race. I think he's parked himself in a barrier. Justin Melillo leads. Come on, Justin, you can do this. Second time leading in this All-Star Invitational Series. There's the Traction GG machine hunting him down. Blake Reynolds, the 66, is up to second.
How about Justin Melillo? He gained 2 spots only on the start. Not the best showing from him in race number 1, but he's up to the lead now. Here comes Blake Reynolds, full head of steam around the outside through the left-hander, and beautifully done by the Jim Beaver Esports driver in the 66. When you join Jim Beaver Esports, Arjuna, I guess you just automatically get pretty good at these off-road trucks.
As part of your contract, apparently, and you can already see now 9/10 clear of Melillo, who does a very similar thing to what we saw from Travis Brown. He also will hold on to that car, but loses second and third. Caps and Drapkin get on through. Drapkin has sailed his way forward. Knupp's still trying to clear them. 3 wide once more. Knupp's down on the inside. Look at the car control being displayed by the young teenager.
And they're still battling in this midfield. Everybody running close together like hornets as they all will try and get up to the front of this field. Now Blake Reynolds pulling away to the tune of 2.7 seconds now. Here comes Luke Knupp. Where did he come from? He's up into P3. Zachary Drapkin at P2 as Melillo's into the barrier.
And I think he slammed into Ryan Burden in one of the other Traction GG cars. This is a bit of a mess right now, but it's the type of mess that you actually enjoy. Melillo will try and slide to the inside side of Brendan Lichtenberg. Look at this hornet's nest. They're clean up front. They are fighting for all their worth back in the pack. Again, Melillo, all sorts of twisted on the landing of the jump from the race lead to the tail of those running. What a story that's been for Justin Melillo. A couple of laps of absolute carnage. Reynolds 2 seconds clear of Drapkin, a further 1.2 clear of Luke Knupp. Drapkin and Knupp, the 56 and the 29, have done it once more, carved their way to the front. There's still some work to do if they want to secure victory in race 2 of the night.
And they're still just tight together here, 3 wide almost, as we see a replay. It looks like what happened to Jim DeChamp here when he got up on that barrier. And ooh, just got cattywampus coming through those whoops, and that's all it took. Punched him over.
Oh!
He does up and over the jump. That is the 10 of Brendan Lichtenberg.
Well, he came in with no practice. You get what you deserve, Brendan. I'm going to get a message about that one later. I have no doubt about that one. Lichtenberg squeezed off wide over a jump, and it's ended terribly for him. 3 cars now look to have retired. Travis Brown, Jim DeChamp, and Brendan Lichtenberg, the latest victim of the chaos that Bark River is delivering for us. Here's a look at the replay, and you can see he was always being shoved. I think that was a 777 of Adam Briggs.
And being right near that pagoda too, and just slamming into the side of it was not the best move either. Wes Graham with an issue. He's fallen back to P15. We go back up to P4, the battle for P4, I should say. Focusing on Scott Lear, Ron Capps, and Land as Lear gets a bicycle, saves it into the barrier, able to keep going.
He was about half a second away from flipping that car. Decided the lesser of 2 evils was to run wide. Very fortunate by the construction of the track. Huffman tried to move on Capps. He's the one now trying to defend, as here comes Elliott Watson. Impressive in the first race on the night. Watson slides past on Landon Huffman, who's now demoted down into the 6th position. And while this craziness continues, just over 90 odd seconds left to go in this race. The gap for the lead down to 1.4 seconds.
Back to the inside goes Elliott Watson on Ron Capps, gets physical with it, moves him up a little bit up the track, but now right over to the left-hand side. Huffman gets very aggressive to the inside. He wants the spot on Capps, peels there as well. He gets loose over the jump, and around he goes middle of the track.
But I think they got through on him as well. Teal's another car that has survived, pointed in the right direction. Over the jump they go. Looking now at the 777 as up through the right-hander they go. And behind Briggs, Burton made an absolute mess of that corner. Will rejoin, albeit down in 13th position. What crazy fighting we've had through the course of this All-Star Invitational. This is a preview for what the 4-wheel drive trucks can do. Maybe a little easier to race. We are in for a showcase of what iRacing has got to offer. Down though to the final 40 seconds, and Blake Reynolds is absorbing this pressure and pushing them back. The gap still 1.1 seconds.
White flag this time by for Blake Reynolds, and Zachary Drapkin just can't hold a candle to him as around goes Trevor Teal again in the 72. He falls all the way to the end of the field. Adam Briggs now to the inside of Huffman as the 75 goes a little bit wide through the left-hander. Down to the inside, wanting that top 5 is Adam Briggs for Next Level Racing. Gets physical with it, slams Huffman once in the door, goes for the crossover again. Here comes Keenan Kuza to join the party. He now makes contact with a 777.
Plenty of contact, and if you're new to this sort of racing, contact is to be expected. They can get away with it. They don't always get away with it. It's one of those catch-22s. How aggressive are you going to be? How willing are you to get the elbows out? These drivers still have a full lap to go as the white flag waves. Barney, the flagman, will be vigorously waving as he waits for Blake Reynolds, Zachary Drapkin, and potentially Luke Knupp to give us another photo finish. The gap had come down for a moment. It's grown once more. Reynolds continues to hold station at the front of the field.
And Drapkin catch up in 1 lap. This is going to break the streak of Drapkin and Knupp being the only 2 winners. Blake Reynolds at the front in the 66. General Tire on the truck. A driver for Jim Beaver Esports in the eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing Series. And he's going to prove that Jim Beaver Esports made the right decision both in eNASCAR and maybe it turns out in off-road trucks as well.
Checkered flag about to be out for Blake Reynolds to become another winner in the storied history of this iRacing Off-Road All-Star Invitational. Drapkin and Knupp did all they they can, but from third in race number 1, Blake Reynolds will taste the success of victory as he flies across the line to win round 8 of the iRacing Off-Road All-Star Invitational. The 3 cars at the front of the field, more than 16 seconds clear of those behind. I think that's the number that gives us an indication as to how hard they were fighting for 4th on back.
And there they all come across the line, and grabbing a top 10 is Scott Lear. Landon Huffman ends up in P8. Mikey Lawrence P7. Adam Briggs so close to a top 5, just could not get there, as Trevor Teal ends up coming home in P12 after multiple spins just a couple of laps ago.
What a track this really is. We talk about it being a technical challenge. You see the cars in the air, sometimes pointed in the wrong direction. This very much is the most difficult track we've had so far this season. Blake Reynolds, though, will take his first victory of this All-Star Invitational, clear of Drapkin and Knupp, whose impressive runs continue. Podiums again for the 56 and for the 29. Behind them, another top 5 for Elliott Watson, with Keenan Kusin dragging the Traction GG03 up into 5th. Adam Briggs recovers from a bit of a roll to finish 6th. Mikey Lawrence, Landon Huffman, Ryan Burden, and Michael Cozy Jr., the rest of the top 10. Back in 11th, it's Scott Lear for Penny Arcade, with Trevor Teal, Justin Malillo, and Wes Graham behind him. Looks like a bit of a moment for Ron Capps. He drops from the front row down to 15th in the closing stages. Brendan Lichtenberg, Jim DeChamp, and Travis Brown, the 3 cars that did not make it to the checkered flag in another electric iRacing Off-Road All-Star Invitational race. Well, the fun is done, but it's time to get serious with the championship action. We're getting ready for the iRacing Off-Road Championship Series, coming up next on the iRacing Esports Network.
There's a place where fire and flavor are celebrated, where grilling traditions and new techniques are perfected. Here in Big Green Egg Country, you can grill it, roast it, smoke it, or bake it. It's the most versatile grill you'll ever own. Simple to light, easy to use, comes with a free lifetime warranty. Have it delivered to your door by a certified dealer in your community and start enjoying the ultimate cooking experience. Shop online for home delivery at biggreenegg.com. That's biggreenegg.com.
From the heat of the desert to the rolling hills of Michigan, the iRacing Off-Road Championship Series gets ready to hit the halfway mark of its 2022 campaign. It's been a wild ride, and 7 days ago we had our first repeat winner, Cam Peterson, putting the technical issues he suffered in Event 2 of this championship behind him to work his way once more to victory lane. My name is Arjuna Kankipati, delighted as always to be joined by Josh Lee in the RaceSpot TV commentary booth here on the iRacing Esports Network. And Josh, All-Stars have had their fun, but now at a technical, challenging track where overtaking requires potentially the elbows to get out, the Championship Series drivers are ready to rumble. What are we expecting here today? I think, as always, qualifying is going to be key.
Well, I think first of all, every track that we have seen so far in this campaign has needed these drivers to get their elbows out to make passes. These are the best of the best, 24 of the best in iRacing off-road. Passes are not going to come easy. You gotta work for them. And how do you work for them in off-road? Well, you get physical, you get those bumpers out, and you slam into each other to make those passes happen. Here at Park River specifically, I think they're gonna need to do that, maybe a little bit more like you mentioned, but some big jumps on the track as well could lead to some overtakes, possibly in the air, that we haven't seen this year.
Should be a lot of fun, and in about 45 minutes time we'll know who leads at the halfway stage of this championship. 4 different tracks. After today we will have visited all 4 of them, but then we start to mix things up. We go back to Wild Horse Pass Motorsports Park in 7 days time. 2 weeks from now to Wild West, then a return to Park River at the start of August before heading back to where it all started, Crandon International Raceway on August the 10th, to crown a champion very potentially. Let's talk more about our venue here today. We're only about 150 miles east of Crandon. We've had a long road to get here though. 12 turns, tied as the longest track on the season with a very interesting sand-clay mixture. That means Blue Groove is something we may be talking about. But we've seen Josh Lee that jumps are very much the name of this track.
Well, right as they go through that start-finish line and they go to the right in that first turn, that is a jump that they're going to need to turn as they go up into the air and slam back to the dirt. Same thing right off the exit of turns 4 and 5, and right as they go into turn 6, there's a massive leap there. That high speed in these Pro 4s, they're going to basically, right as they land, need to slam on the brakes for that right-hander of 6.
And then, with all of this racing action, they've got to just survive. It's something we've talked about. Many of these drivers saying they don't need to be the fastest, they need to be the smartest, they have to be the most aware. And with 6 races done and still plenty more to go, let's talk to you about the format for this championship, how drivers are building points. It starts in qualifying, 5 points to the fastest man when the pressure is on. And then in both of our double feature races, Top 8 invert makes things slightly interesting. The winner walks away with 50 points down in increments of 2. Every driver will score points in this championship. They're fighting for their share of $25,000. Our winner, our champion, will walk away with $10,000 in their pocket. And we have 3 awards to hand out as well. The CBR Performance Hard Charger, the Vision Wheel Pole Award, and the Big Green Egg Green Flag Award. When we look at these points, Josh Lee, some drivers have been consistent in the races, others struggling to get themselves where they need to be. Connor Barry has been uber consistent and at the front of the field. He's got a rather handy points lead, not just over Keaton Swain, but over Felix Roy and back.
No finish worse than 5th for that 2 machine of Connor Barry yet this season. Consistency is his name of the game, but focus on Josh Edmondson there in 5th. Focus on Cam Peterson there in 7th. When they are having problems, or when they're not having problems, I should say, they're up at the front. They're getting those positions that they need to get. But Edmondson and Peterson, they've both had some terrible results, but they're still up here fighting for a championship in the top 10.
It's just the top 10, 100 points, aka 2 race victories, split 1 from 10. But now the time for talk is done. The time to go racing at Bark River is upon us. Let's run you through the starting grid for round 1 of the night. And Cam Peterson, after putting it on pole 7 days ago, puts it 8th in qualifying, but with the top 8 invert, will lead us to the green flag alongside one of his main rivals, now turned teammate Josh Edmondson in the 58, shares row number 1. Alex Bergeron won a couple of weeks ago. He'll sign up a lineup alongside Keaton Swain, who's now smiling as a winner from a last corner pass 7 days ago. Killian Delomo, Connor Barry, 5th and 6th positions. Watch for the championship leader with red number boards. Jacob Rafoss, 2nd in qualifying, but the Rallycross convert loses out to Tommy Holman, who has been nowhere the last 2 weeks, but after an impressive start to the season, backs it up with Vision Wheel Pole Award number 1 for the Finn. Cody Retzlaff, Tony Latin-Mackey, the rest of the top 10 with Felix Roy, some work for him to do back in 11th. Josh Fox in the Williams Esports number 12 alongside him. Christopher Plumley, well, he's made it just. His wife's water broke earlier tonight. We wish both Mrs. Plumley and baby Plumley the best of health, and Christopher Plumley has been given permission to go racing in this championship level series. Crystal King alongside him, while Nicholas Dachelet and Tom Grady 15th and 16th spots. Nick Larson, Connor Parisi 17th and 18th. Keith Jeffrey started at the front of last week's 2nd race of the night before flipping with a self-inflicted mistake. He'll line up in 19th alongside Trenton Briley, Terry Miller, Tyson Miller, Quinton Dalomo, and Brandon Proudfoot. All 24 cars locked and loaded here today. The shock is the young Frenchman, Quinton Dalomo. I think it's fair to say, Josh Lee, that rounds 1 and 2 went great for young Quinton. Since then, it's been a struggle, not just on track, to keep his composure as well. Today, he's got a lot of work to do.
A lot of work to do against some of the best in iRacing off-road, to say the least. It's not going to be easy for the RAG Esports driver of Delalmo. And you mentioned how good he did at Crandon, and I keep thinking back to how good a lot of the Rallycross World Championship drivers did in that opening round. Maybe it was the lack of first World Championship nerves that got them all of those top 10s that we saw, but since then, the off-road competitors that have more experience experienced in virtual off-road, have slowly been catching up and slowly been overtaking the RX competitors from last season of the World Championship. So I think maybe it was just the jitters of a first World Championship for a lot of these drivers that maybe gave them a little bit less than what they actually had in the tank for Crandon, that now they're regaining that back.
Mental fortitude, so important at this level of competition. Let's talk very quickly about some of the history and the legacy of this Bark River International Raceway, owned and operated by a non-profit organization, the Bark River Lions Club, that does a lot to benefit the community. They are coming up on the 46th annual event at this track. Running just after our championship has come to a close, when many of not just the All-Stars, but our pro drivers as well will head to Bark River looking to cement their names in not just the iRacing history books, but potentially those in the real world as well. Josh, we're getting word from the paddock. It was a technical issue for Quintin Dalomo, not able to get a lap in qualifying. At the very least, though, he can bounce back from the tail end of the field.
And if he does work his way into that top 8 at some point, even if he finishes 8th, we have a top 8 invert going into race number 2. And going into this race as well, fastest man in qualifying was Tommy Hallman down there in 8th. And a top 8 invert for race number 2. Even if he makes it up there, he can use that invert to his advantage and get those points out of race 2 and play more defense in race 2 than he is playing offense here in race 1.
And quick race information for you watching: 11 laps, 24 trucks, and like we mentioned, top 8 inverted for this race from qualifying. We invert again for the second race of the evening. Josh, it's prediction time again. 2 very strong competitors on the front row. Hard to look past them. Who do you think's coming out on top here in round 7 of the championship?
I honestly think this might be Josh Edmondson's best opportunity at his first win. Second place, 3 second places. A second place first race at Crandon, and then 2 second places at Wild Horse 2 and Wild West 1. So now I think he's going to be able to get to that top spot of the podium finally. He needs to beat his longtime rival and now teammate at Jim Beaver Esports, Cam Peterson, however, but Peterson has a huge gap in wins. He won at Crandon 1 at Wild West 2. Let's see what he can do here.
22 laps splits us from the halfway mark of this 2022 iRacing Off-Road Championship Series. There's some symmetry there as the cars roll towards the starting zone. There's a spot where the pole position man is allowed to take off and get us underway, and Cam Peterson finds it, picks up the throttle. We're racing at Bark River for round 7 of the 2022 iRacing Off-Road Championship Series. Up in the air and sliding left through the opening corner they go. Josh Fox gets bundled wide. A look down to the inside from Alex Bergeron, but Peterson and Edmondson control the tempo at the front of the field. Keaton Swain the long way around, trying to get up into 3rd.
An early lead for that number 48, now starting to pull away. Josh Edmondson in 2nd. How about Keaton Swain trying to cover off for 3rd? Alex Bergeron's there as well. Killian Delalmo rounds out the top 5. Here comes Connor Berry looking to make a pass in the air. He's going to get blocked by both Bergeron and Delalmo in front of him. Berry looks for a way by the 13 of Jacob Rafas. Cody Retzlaff gets to the inside. He's going to pass 2 for 1 as he also gets by Tommy Hallman.
Tommy Hallman struggling to make up ground after being the fastest in qualifying. Barry around the outside will try and fight with Retzlaff in front of him, but almost going up and over is the young 14, 15-year-old of Jacob Rafos. Will lose out to Tommy Hallman, and going up and over, Tony Latin-Mackey in the Black Star Racing number 92 finds race 1 in a little bit more of a difficult situation that he would have wanted. Emerges alongside with Proudfoot. They're still fighting though in the heart of the pack. Plumley, well, made this race by the skin of his teeth, trying to fight to show what he's worth.
And now fighting with Felix Roy in front. He has Jacob Rafas there as well. Fastest man in qualifying, Tommy Hallman, is also there. Back up to neutral for him as he sits P8, but only 1 lap into the books. Side by side, a little bit further up now, and side by side here with Plumley and Fox as Josh Fox tries to get back a couple of places. He is still where he started in P12, wants to move forward, but the 36 with a great block there, and Josh Fox almost flips it over, coming over that jump. He slammed that right front right into the dirt.
How do you survive? Plumlee this time is the one that's going to hang on as we jump on board to the man racing in virtual reality. How do these drivers recover these cars from seemingly unrecoverable situations? For Josh Fox, after his own technical issues in event number 2, only 4 starts coming into this one, 2 top 10s for a 4-time iRacing Rallycross World Championship competitor. The hopes were higher, especially since Fox has graduated, can focus more time on sim racing. There's a look at Keith Jeffrey also trying, Crystal King, trying to work on the back of Christopher Plumlee. Plenty of fighting at the back of the field. We're not seeing that up front. Cam Peterson continues to dominate the pace of this race. He gets the Big Green Egg Green Flag Award for leading lap 1 here in this race.
And Crystal King, we saw her get to the inside of Christopher Plumlee there when we were on board with the 36, the first woman to ever compete in an iRacing World Championship, and she has been consistent to say the least. Her best finish currently is 12th. She sits here in 13th. Nothing to scoff at. Very consistently finishing there, looking for that first top 10, but up here with some of the best and beating some of the best in the past in iRacing Rallycross as well. A great night so far for Crystal King. Let's hope the luck continues to go her way.
3 wide on the exit of the corner. Crystal King, best qualifying performance for her of the season, as still almost now 4 abreast as they funnel their way through the corner. Hallman trying to bully his way past Rafals. Ilian Delomo getting the elbows out with Cody Retzlaff. In front of them, Connor Barry, the championship leader, sees Cody Retzlaff go space shuttle status. Killian Delomo tried to bully Retzlaff. The 525 pays the price.
And they're still in a hornet's nest back there as trying now and getting to the outside is Hallman. Hallman loses not 1 but 2 spots as along goes Killian Delomo and along goes Felix Roy. Now Josh Fox is there to fight with the 87. Fox goes to the outside line as Christopher Plumlee chooses the inside, gets blocked by the 87 of Hallman, and will stay side by side with the Williams Esports number 12. Falls right back in line as they'll go back over the jump. Hallman back into the inside, gets up on 2 wheels, slams into the 12, sends him wide, and now the 12 of Josh Fox goes down to P12.
And Fox at least able to carry on once more, but we talk about the contact. Again, sometimes they can get away with it. If you're pushed into an uncomfortable situation, it becomes much harder to gather yourself up and continue your forward momentum. Tommy Hallman, 2 top 3 championship finishes in the iRacing Rallycross World Championship Series, but significant struggles so far in the campaign. A best finish of 6th. Other than that, has not finished inside of the top 10. There's the look at the RaceSpot TV replay. I think it's fair to say Killian Delomo, after being bullied last week, has decided to return serve. Bo Albert may be in his ear trying to get him a little bit more physical. That was physical. Retzlaff paying the price.
And Cody Retzlaff now joins Terry Miller as the 2 trucks that are now out of this race and in the pit lane. About halfway done, Arjuna, and this battle in the midfield has not gone away as Hallman's still knocking on the door of the 36, but as Hallman goes wide, here comes King to the inside, and using all 4 wheels on the dirt is Crystal King, just trying to get momentum to get around Hallman. She had a good look to the inside, but she continued to slide up, and you can only use up the driver to your outside to a certain degree. You can't really use them as brakes or use them to straighten out the truck. You're still going to keep that kinetic energy moving up, and Crystal King lost too much momentum. As up on 2 wheels goes Connor Parisi. Quinton Delomo, we talked about earlier, Arjuna, that he would have to get physical. That's exactly what he is doing, up into the top 15.
These guys are fighting in effect for bragging rights, and yes, a couple of points. At the front of the field, it's close. Teammates looking to do battle with Cam Peterson, now only a car length, if that clear, from Josh Edmondson. Heaton, Swain, Bergeron have joined the fun as well. It's a 4-way fight for the win here in the first race of the evening at Bark River. Peterson continues to lead, but he's looking increasingly vulnerable. Edmondson launches it into the air, unable to get to the inside.
Edmondson looking for the rotation on the inside, won't get there. Cam Peterson continues to hold this lead. How about Keaton Swain from 3rd? How about Alex Bergeron too? He's still within 2 seconds of the lead pack. He is within striking distance as well if anything happens to these front runners. Peterson slams the dirt, gets a beautiful apex going into that left-hander as we go on board with Josh Edmondson. VR headset full effect, full lean in effect as well as he tries to get maximum speed out of that Pro 4 truck. I think the lead at least helps a little bit, Arjuna, right?
just needs a couple more RaceBot stickers on that car as well. We've heard that they give you 50 horsepower for each logo that you have on the car. Looks like Crystal King slips to 15th, but in this battle for the lead, past the halfway marker, Swain's closing bit by bit. Edmondson continues to try and lean his way forward, looking set at almost 6 wide. They fight further back in the field. Absolute craziness. Car going up and over. I think Crystal King has had her first DNF of the night.
And that is unfortunate for the 278 at King, but we continue to focus on that mid-battle. Now back up to the battle for the lead. 5 laps to go. How long is Edmondson willing to wait here? How patient is he going to be, Arjuna? I talked about it when we were on the pace lap. He has 3 second-place finishes. The only other time that he has not been wrecked in a race, he has finished 4th. So every time that he has finished a race, he has finished in the top 5. I think he's tired of finishing bridesmaid. He wants to be the bride, and I think he might be able to do it with Peterson here.
The only times he's finished outside of that top 5 are races where on lap 1 he's been involved in race-ending incidents. For Edmondson, staying out of trouble, the minimum he can do, he's continuing to hunt, but has to look in the rearview mirrors. Swain and Bergeron continuing to grow bigger and bigger as they close, not fighting amongst the two of them, at least for the time being. Swain grabs a little too much grass as they work through the S's, back to the hairpin towards the end of the lap as they get ready to start lap 8 of 11, 4 to go this time by. Look at the line they're taking. And Josh, you picked up on that in the All-Stars. These championship drivers using a lot more of the berm as they round themselves to the start-finish line.
It is the power line that is on this track. It's talk about maximizing track limits all the time. We see that in every single World Championship, from eNASCAR to Porsche to Rallycross. Maximizing track limits is the name of the game to get all the speed that you can out of that lap time, and that is exactly what these drivers are doing here in the Off-Road Championship Series, and taking that berm is part of it. But look at that gap up at the front of the field. It's closed in between Swain and Bergeron, but it's grown in between your Jim Beaver Esports competitors in Peterson and Edmondson. Now over 1 second, the 58 is going to have to gain back some time now if he wants this this race 1 win. Swain is still looking to catch up, and Alex Bergeron looking for yet another podium, which will be his first since he won back at Wild Horse Race 1.
For Keaton Swain, 4 podiums so far this season, looking to add to the tally. Consistent points make championship. Bergeron a little bit wide and squirrely as they fly through the right-hand hairpin once more. The gap has grown now to almost 1.5 seconds. Peterson in these closing stages, as the track continues to develop, has found a little bit more speed. Up into the dirt they go as they try and ramp themselves up and over the start-finish line. 3 to go this time by, and I mentioned the construction of the dirt earlier on tonight. A sand and clay mixture that means blue groove, when the rubber on the tire is baked onto the track, develops a lot faster than it would at other sort of tracks. Remember as well, we'll get a reset of the track conditions before we go again for 11 more laps.
Arjuna, I think I was expecting a little bit more blue groove than we're actually seeing. Not really seeing any of the track kind of glossing over, getting that almost concrete look with the rubber going into the dirt. It really is just kind of moving the marbles to the outside and kind of forming a nice groove. It's losing a little bit of the moisture, making it a little bit more dry, but not a lot of rubber getting baked in, so these drivers don't have to change their lines too much so far. And with only 11 laps, it's not the longest race in the world at this track. I remember running a 3-hour or 2.5-hour enduro event here for S2 Motorsport a while ago, but not seeing too much track evolution, not seeing too much change in these lines. But we'll see if you get to that outside where now all of those dirt marbles are getting pushed, could spell disaster.
3 hours around here sounds chaotic, and I know the cars that you used made it just a tad more interesting. 2 laps, 3 miles to go in what is round 7 of this championship, inching closer and closer to the halfway mark of this 2022 season. Keaton Swain now falling backwards, Edmondson looking forward, Swain looking backwards, Bergeron continuing to look down low, not able to get the elbows out yet.
That's the big challenge of these Pro 4 trucks. Yes, they have four-wheel drive, but if you start sliding, it becomes very difficult to then catch that slide and get that momentum back. You saw Alex Bergeron slide up into the door of Keaton Swain and just lost all that momentum, couldn't do anything with it, and now sits behind the number 21 to the tune of a couple of tenths as we see Edmondson and Peterson still fighting up front. White flag this time by Arjuna, and Edmondson still has a lot of work to do. So that gap is about 8.5 tenths, growing to now a second.
Yeah, Peterson slowing down now. You look at the other side of the track, they're still too wide, a couple of rows deep. Keaton Swain, Bergeron fighting for third, some physicality going on there. Peterson just looks more comfortable through that section at the end of the lap. Look at the way the car is pointed as he throws it into the final corner. Onto the power, white flag in hand, 1 lap to go. Peterson within 0.6 of a second.
You can see that harsh turn over to the right as they slam back down into this whoop section, up and over the jump to the left-hand side, and almost wheeling when he lands is Cam Peterson. Goes wide here. Edmondson goes for a little bit of a tighter line to try and catch up to your race leader, but not going to get there just yet. And it looks like, yet again, Josh Edmondson will play second fiddle and play bridesmaid to Cam Peterson. This will be the exact same top 2 that we saw back at the first race of the season at Crandon, with Peterson at the top of the podium and Edmondson on the middle step.
And remember the chaos that we saw then for Edmondson as he tried to work his way through. Inverted top 8 for the second race of the night. It means that if you are in a difficult situation at the start, you've got to be careful. Edmondson has come afoul of that not once but twice so far this season. Through the final corners they go once more. For Cam Peterson, frustration in week 2 became jubilation in week 3. Our first multi-time winner of this 2022 campaign. Today, he becomes the first back-to-back winner of the 2022 season. Cam Peterson wins once more in the iRacing Off-Road Championship Series.
And beautifully done as well from pole. Never lost the lead and was able to grab that win. Cam Peterson, just a beautiful race done, and nothing to scoff at for Josh Edmondson either. He kept his own and started second, stayed in second for the finish.
Nice little fight back in the pack. It was close at the front, not as physical as side by side over the line. Proudfoot, I think, managing to get in front of Dashalet at the very, very end. But as we wait for the final cars to come across the line, another enthralling race in this 2022 iRacing Off-Road Championship Series. Well, race number 7 of the season sees a third win for Cam Peterson in that Team General tire number 48. For Josh Edmondson, it's yet another second place finish. The job is not done for those two at the front of the field. They ran away from Keaton Swain, who backs his consistency up with a 5th podium in just 7 races. Alex Bergeron, Connor Barry make up the rest of the top 5. Jacob Rafos in 6th with Killian Delomo getting in front of Tommy Holman, with our Vision Wheel Pole Award winner in the 87 unable to make his way forward in the race. Felix Roy, Christopher Plumley through the rest of the top 10. For Josh Fox, Connor Parise, and Tom Grady, plenty of fighting around them that they saw, but back in 14th position, Quintin Delomo, after the technical issue in qualifying, carves his way up 9 positions to 14th to win your CBR Hard Charger Award for round 7 of this championship. Tyson Miller, Nicholas Dashalet, 15th and 16th, while Proudfoot missed out by the smallest of margins, almost 600ths between 16th and 17th. Trenton Briley, Keith Jeffrey, and Crystal King make up the rest of the top 20. Behind them, a couple of laps down, Nick Larson, Tony Latin-Mackey, Cody Retzlaff, and Terry Miller. 24 became 20. That finished off the 11 laps that we just saw of racing action. Still got 1 race to go with a top 8 invert. We'll be back with racing after a message from Big Green Egg.
There's a place where fire and flavor are celebrated, where grilling traditions and new techniques are perfected. Here in Big Green Egg Country, you can grill it, roast it, smoke it, or bake it. It's the most versatile grill you'll ever own. Simple to light, easy to use, comes with a free lifetime warranty. Have it delivered to your door by a certified dealer in your community and start enjoying the ultimate cooking experience. Shop online for home delivery at biggreenegg.com. That's biggreenegg.com.
Well, a look from up above in the rolling hills of Michigan, where we're live on iRacing.com from Park River International Raceway for the fourth round and the fourth meeting of this iRacing Off-Road Championship Series for 2022. My name is Arjuna Kankipati, alongside in the RaceBot TV commentary booth. Live here on the iRacing Esports Network is the one, the only Joshua Lee. Another race, another 11 laps of absolute excitement. But now we're ready to do it again. We're ready to hit the halfway mark of this 2022 iRacing Off-Road Championship Series. Let's run you down through the starting grid for the second race of the night. And after putting it on pole, but starting back in 8th, it's flipped around again for Tommy Holman. He'll lead us to the green, alongside with Killian Delhomme, Jacob Rafos, a rallycross trio making up the top 3 in this race. Connor Barry, the championship leader, will line up on the outside of the second row with Alex Bergeron and Keaton Swain right behind him. Rolling from 7th will be Josh Edmondson alongside Cam Peterson, 1 and 2 in our earlier race this evening. Felix Roy was able to work his way up a couple of spots in race 1 to 9th. He'll line up alongside with Christopher Plumley again. Christopher making this race by the skin of his teeth. We wish Mrs. Plumley and Baby Plumley on their way here today the best of health for the future. Josh Fox, Connor Parisi, 11th and 12th sharing row 6, while back in 13th it's a 5:35 of Tom Grady, with the hard charger of race 1, Quintin Delhomme, on his outside. Tyson Miller in the factory Simsport number 90 is alongside with Nicholas Dachelet, while Brandon Proudfoot and Team General Tire find themselves next to Trenton Briley. Keith Jeffrey and Crystal King make up the top 20, with Nick Larson, Tony Latin-Mackey, Cody Retzlaff and Terry Miller. 4 cars struggling in race 1, looking for some redemption in the second race of the evening. If you're watching on, you're enjoying the fun, you maybe want to get to this level of iRacing. Well, head over to iRacing.com to start your iRacing career, where new memberships are 40% off. Get on the road to your virtual checkered flag. It's a rallycross trio at the front that will look to control, but really, while we look at Delhomme, we look at Tommy Holman. The one surely to watch, Josh, is Connor Barry from the outside of row number 2.
I'm going to be watching him like a hawk, because even there in that first race, he did not break his streak of top 5 finishes. He finished 5th, so he still is the only driver this season to not finish outside the top 5 anytime he has hit the track, and he has hit the track in every single round yet this season. So can Connor Barry break that streak, and can he get another win? We talked about Cam Peterson being the only driver to win multiple, now the only driver to win back-to-back. Can Connor Barry join him in that club of winning multiple races in a season?
And let's talk about what we need to talk about. For Peterson, the most successful driver in terms of wins of this championship before we get to the halfway marker. But with the 2 did not start / did not finishes that he's got in the championship, he's behind. What does he need to do here, Josh, working his way forward from 8th?
He just needs to try and be physical with all these drivers. He knows how to do that, but we've seen with Cam Peterson, when he started back further in the field with an invert, he just hasn't been able to move his way up through the field. He needs to do that here if he wants yet another win and make it 3 in a row. You can see on the points, he's all not yet in that top 6 as Connor Barry still holding on to that lead, but it is closing with Swain's good finish in race 1.
You can see the points that they gained as well. For Edmondson, maybe not such a struggle, as he's now solidly inside of the top 5, but now we're ready to get underway. 11 laps from now, we'll be at the halfway point of this 2022 iRacing Off-Road Championship Series. At the front, though, it's Legacy of Rallycross that leads us to the green. Tommy Holman picks up the throttle. We're racing once more at Park River. Killian Delhomme comfortably in second. Jacob Rafos and Connor Barry fighting side by side for second. Single file inside of the top 3, side by side, and Jacob Rafos going up and over for the ride of his life. The 15-year-old gets into a hellacious incident.
He saves it. He's able to continue. That was Connor Barry that made contact with him. Just slams the door off of the jump, sends him on his way. As back by Alex Bergeron goes Josh Edmondson. Where's Peterson? He's still down in P8. Can't go anywhere from back there. As we go on board with that 48 of Peterson. Loses out on the spot to Josh Fox as the 12 bullies his way past the 48.
New partnership for Cam Peterson today, the Shine logo on the front and the side of his cars. He's got to be careful though. Swain's trying to work his way forward. Plumlee's trying to bully his way past as well. Sideways over the jump. Peterson will hold off Swain. Now got to focus forward and climb his way into the top 5, potentially back to those podium spots. At the front of the field though, and leading lap number 1, Tommy Horman has some success in the second race of an evening for the very first time. He wins the Big Green Egg Green Flag Award as we start lap number 2. The pressure isn't for the lead, the pressure is for second.
The pressure might be on the lead soon here if Connor Berry can get by Killian Delolmo here in the next few laps. He gets down back to the dirt, gets that power back down, but here comes Josh Edmondson as well. How aggressive is he willing to be when he gets up into this top 3 group? It is Hallman, then Delolmo, then Berry, Edmondson. You have to go back about a second to find Alex Bergeron, but he's trying to protect the top 5 from Josh Fox, who sits in the 12 right behind.
Great fight at the front. Proudfoot losing ground. He seems to be involved in some sort of mishaps further down the field. Bergeron trying to defend from Fox and Plumlee behind him. You can see some separation starting to build now between a couple of these packs. 1 second between 4th and 5th. Bergeron trying to hold off Fox and close potentially on that 58 Jim Beaver Esports machine. Look at the focus on Williams Esports' Josh Fox, who's experienced all Williams has to offer. Got an invite to the Canadian Grand Prix to hang out with Williams. It's one of the perks of being with a major international Formula One team.
And now in this off-road championship series, Josh Fox has been no slouch. He sits 6th right now, started P11 here in race 2, and has gained 5 spots currently on the grid to get himself up and into that top 6. Now trying to get by Alex Bergeron for that 5th spot. Both of these drivers, former competitors in the iRacing Rallycross World Championship. Of course, Alex Bergeron, anything on dirt. He has been a World Championship competitor over the last few seasons. Connor Berry back to the back bumper of Killian Delolmo, but he's been there for a few laps here. Arjuna has not been able to get by the Gialtis Esports machine. Now down to the inside goes Berry, slams the door, aggressive, but is still staying side by side as they go back to the right. Berry has to surrender. Here comes Edmondson to the bottom.
The more you fight, the more opportunities you present for those behind to maybe not just join the fun, but to slide on through as well. Barry continues to defend, forced wide by Edmondson, some contact over the jump. The championship leader holds the position for the time being, but by going for a move, Connor Barry opened himself up for Edmondson to have a look. Cam Peterson involved in some sort of issue, 3 wins in 7 races, but Cam Peterson just cannot buy any luck.
It's been like this a handful of races for Cam Peterson. Whenever he gets back on top, then he ends up having a bad race and he goes right back to the bottom. Wild Horse comes into mind, where I don't believe he started either of those races at Wild Horse Pass, and just so unfortunate for Cam Peterson yet again. Just cannot get any luck on this track, and it's exactly what happens in a World Championship. You can do all you can on the track, but it's the things you can't control that is ultimately going to be the deciding factor on if you become a World Championship or not.
And you say out of control. That is the key phrase. For the second time in this championship, Cam Peterson has found himself with technical issues that have dropped him out of the race. You can afford it maybe once, you can afford it perhaps twice, but 3 different races all ruined by technical malfeasances. It's hard to come back from that, even if you're going to win the most races of the rest of your competitors. So for Cam Peterson, the struggle bus continues to roll on. For Connor Barry, tucked up in 3rd position right now. Maybe you look backwards and let people come on through. Your nearest championship rival and Keaton Swain is down in 8th. Bergeron around the outside. Josh Fox gets past him.
On board with Bergeron as he tries to get back to the inside of the 12, just cannot get there as they sit P6 now is Alex Bergeron, and Fox into the top 5. Can he catch up now to the 58 of Edmondson? He's got some work to do, and here comes Plumlee into this picture as well. He's got an interesting decision here, Christopher Plumlee, because sitting in 7th, side by side in front of him, now he's going to come up to basically a wall of trucks in front of him. How is he going to be able to get by them if he has enough speed to do so?
4 top 10s coming into the night for Christopher Plumley, but his best finish has been 7th. Can he better that one here today as he works behind drivers with so much top-level experience? Alex Bergeron has competed across all the license levels here at iRacing World Championship level competition. He's seen it all, he's done it all, more than 20 wins in the World of Outlaws and the USAC Sprint Cars Championships over the years. For Tommy Horman, we talk of wins, 5 Rallycross World Championship wins for Tommy Horman, 1.52 seconds clear of DeLomo. It looks like he might win here in the trucks for the very first time. Bergeron will bully Plumley into submission. Keaton Swain closes up in the battle for 6th.
Keaton Swain in 8th is interesting to me. He drops 2 spots from where he began in 6th and just hasn't been able to gain any spots back from there. Very strange from Keaton Swain. Normally, he's one of those drivers that we see fighting for a top 5. I mean, looking at his results, 2nd, 3rd, 1st from Crandon 2 to Wild West 1, and then he has not finished outside of the top 10 through this season yet. So Swain from P8 and struggling to pass now the 36 or Christopher Plumley. It's a little bit interesting.
I like how he was 45 degrees bank angle there. Keaton Swain looked like he was on a roller coaster made for 5-year-olds. He's so confident, so comfortable no matter where he puts that car. Another driver with that real world experience that he can carry forward to the sim. It's a staple for many of these competitors. Although having said that, there are plenty that would do anything for their chance to wheel one of these 900 horsepower behemoths around any sort of short course track. There's the look at the live points standings. The right-hand side column, you see the points gained out of today. And that's where, even though Josh Edmondson has had a good, consistent day as he looked to try and go back-to-back on the podium, Connor Barry, consistency, wins championships. He'll walk away with 91 points, only 9 points short of a perfect race weekend.
And how about this battle now that is brewing for 4th on the racetrack as Josh Fox in the Williams Esports entry is closing pretty aggressively on the 58 of Josh Edmondson. They're about 2 seconds removed from Tommy Hallman, who leads. And how about the Rallycross competitors showing up here? Tommy Hallman, Killian DeLalma, the top 2. Fox is looking to get up further into the top 5 by getting by Edmondson. Barry and Edmondson just cannot seem to move their way up and into that top 2 battle.
What a fight this really is. Josh Fox, just of note, 2018, his one and only iRacing Rallycross World Championship win. It's been a long 4 years since then. Many turns in the tail for the wily Josh Fox out of Pennsylvania. In the battle for the lead, though, Tommy Hallman's separation has been closed. Killian DeLalma all over the rear of him as they fly in through the final couple of corners. Barry's closing, so is Edmondson. A 2-car fight for the lead. Well, it might not be far away from a 6-7 car fight for the lead. If this continues to go on, we jump over to lap 8 of 11.
Side by side now for the race lead. They'll go up through these whoops and getting very cattywampus was Hallman. He slams into DeLalma, who moves up the track. DeLalma back to the inside. Door slam with that front bumper. Side by side yet again. Give the advantage over to Killian DeLalma as they both get loose over the jump, and DeLalma covers the spot as they go over the jump.
Tommy Hallman could have fought that harder, but elected to slide back into line and try and go again and fight for the lead. You'll look down low through the right-hand sweeping hairpin as you see the 3 cars behind have closed on up, on board with Tommy Hallman. These 2 out front racing at rather uncomfortable times of the morning for them over in Europe, but they know what's on the line. We're battling for $25,000. They're battling for behind as well. Connor Barry, Edmondson, and Fox throw a blanket over them. Bergeron, Plumley joining the fun as well.
Oh, and Josh Fox is going to slam Edmondson out of the way. Push Edmondson to 5th. Put Josh Fox up and into 4th. Now, if they keep battling back there, are they going to catch up to these lead drivers? They're starting to get back close together. Put the top 4 under 1 second now on the gap. 3 laps to go. This is going to get intense.
you could not pick between any of the top 7 as it runs right now. So many positive stories that you could talk about here. Who's going to emerge on top with about 4 miles left to play in round 8 of this 2022 iRacing Off-Road Championship Series. Keith Jeffrey loses a couple of spots. He's down to 14th, but Tommy Holman down the inside retakes the race lead.
That is a perfect move from Holman. Gets back to the front. What can Barry do now as you saw them all flying through the air? Barry goes for a crossover on Delamo. He will get to that inside line, but very quickly it swaps right back to the right. Barry back to the bottom, hits the berm, gonna slam into Delamo, slams into Fox. He's able to hold on to third, but that was a close moment going up onto the lead for Barry.
And even if he loses out to Josh Fox, for Connor Barry, the consistency is what is important. Fighting for a championship, sometimes losing a spot is better than crashing out of a race. Throw a blanket over that battle for second. Delomo sideways. Fox continues to push him. Barry's going to go up and over. The championship leader flips over the track. And while Tommy Holman sails his way to a 2-second advantage at the front of the field, Connor Barry drops like a rock.
Connor Barry just flew a little bit too close to the sun. He was laying on the door of Josh Fox. Fox slams into Delamo. They all went spinning, and Connor Barry ends up the worst out of the mix, P18, and that's going to hurt him in the points. Fox goes wide, slamming into Edmondson goes Bergeron. They all slam into each other as they're 3 wide for 4th.
They know what every other driver is going to do now. This is where championships pick up in intensity, when they know what moves can be made, when they start to get increasingly physical. Still a lap and a half left to go. Edmondson 1.3 back, continues to search for a race victory. Plumlee with a look down the inside of Bergeron for 4th position. He doesn't get it done. Swain's right behind him in 6th spot as well. So many strong names at the front of the field. Whoa, I don't even know where to look.
It'll be white flag this time by Arjuna. There's the replay. Delamo went around and Connor Barry just hit that Logitech G Altus Esports truck at the wrong angle, flipped him up and over, could not save it. White flag here. Holman leads by 1 second as Josh Edmondson is going to get 2nd place yet again. If he stays where he is, that'll be 2nd place, number 5 for Edmondson on the season.
But in your words, can he avoid being the bridesmaid here today? White flag in hand with 1.5 miles left to go. Tommy Holman has got to just keep the car underneath him. Over the jump they go once more, closing all the while. Who's going to emerge on top here? And for Connor Barry as well, let's point out 6 consecutive top 10 finishes coming into this race. Put himself in the top 5 earlier on tonight. This will be the first time we've seen Barry struggle. It brings Swain, it brings many a contender back into the championship picture. Over the jump they go once more. For Edmondson, it's more concern behind. Here comes Josh Fox.
Josh Fox looking for his best finish of the season and his first podium finish of the season. They all go a little bit wide. Fox tries to look to the inside, but Edmondson on the defense. He cannot focus as much on the offense. He might have one more opportunity to try and catch Tommy Holman and try and get by him. It's going to be in this right-hander. Does he get aggressive with it? Holman goes wide, slams into him. Here comes Fox to the inside.
Bit more contact. Holman sideways. Can Edmondson slide to the inside? Maybe Fox can spoil the party. They're 3 wide. They continue banging doors. Tommy Holman is going to potentially get the up and under as they fight all the way to the line. Tommy Holman and Josh Fox have delivered the closest ever Off-Road Championship Series race, but it's Josh Fox, 4 years on from a victory at Iowa, who wins here at Bark River, and there is elation. There is relief on the face of the Pennsylvania native.
From 3rd to 1st on the last lap. What a finish. That is iRacing Off-Road.
I am standing up and cheering these people on. The way they fight, the intensity, the never say never attitude has delivered a finish 300, splitting Josh Fox and Tommy Holman when it was said and done. And for Josh Fox, when I talked to him in the build-up to this championship, he was looking forward to contact. He was looking forward to being able to focus on sim racing a little bit more. The jubilation of victory is in the camp of Josh Fox and Williams Esports here today. My word, take a breath and gather your composure back up. We're done racing for the night, but we'll be back in 7 days' time to kick off the second half of the season. and it could not get much better than that. Let's run you down then through the results for this second race of the evening. Josh Fox is a winner again in iRacing World Championship competition, clear of Tommy Hallman by 3/100ths of a second. For Christopher Plumley, it's double delight, a podium here today, and we wish Mrs. Plumley and Baby Plumley well with the arrival of Baby Plumley in very, very exciting times. Alex Bergeron, Keaton Swain, 4th and 5th positions, while Josh Edmondson is bundled down to 6th. Connor Parise, Nicholas Dachalet, Killian Delhomo, and Cody Retzlaff through the top 10. So many names missing from this, but opportunities for some to stamp their names on this championship. Tom Grady in the 535 will finish down in 11th, with Brandon Proudfoot after starting 24th in race number 1, able to work himself up to 12th by the end of the evening. Felix Roy in 13th after starting in 9th, is bundled down, with Quinton Delhomo staying where he finished. Race number 1, he stays in 14th. Keith Jeffrey, Trenton Briley, Tyson Miller, and Connor Barry, Nick Larson, as well as Tony Latin-Mackey make up the rest of the top 20. A couple of cars being involved in major drama. Crystal King, Terry Miller, Cam Peterson, and Jacob Rafos, the 24 cars here today. And let's grab another look at the finish before we talk to our winners again, because this is what off-road, what short course is all about, Josh Lee.
And there is maybe 5 things happening in this replay. You go back there, there's Edmondson just trying to get everything that he possibly can, and he just went a little bit too aggressive. Fox there went a little bit too wide. That pushes Hallman back to the inside. Hallman hits the inside curb and pushes up and into the 12 of Josh Fox, and they were side by side across the line. You mentioned it, Arjuna, 0.029 seconds when they came to the finish. And there, I think 10 things maybe happened there in 3 corners to set up that finish. It was Edmondson, it was Fox, and it was Tommy Hallman, all just fighting as aggressive as they could to be a winner. Here's this finish shot. How about it? Mid-air slamming each other as they come down onto the ground, and Fox wins it.
I'm still trying to catch my breath, still trying to compose myself, but I don't want to wait too much longer. We've seen the finish. Let's talk to the man himself. Josh Fox, with plenty of emotion, is a World Championship winner once more. And Josh, what does this mean? Talk to us about what you're feeling right now, my friend.
I just can't even believe it, man. It's unreal to come from 11th outside the invert and just have it go our way, and that one on the start, move forward. And I knew the truck was really good at the end of the race, based on the first race. I thought we were one of the best toward the end of the race, and unreal the finish. You know, I knew Josh could maybe get to Tommy there if I didn't push him, and that would give us both a chance. And then it was all to play for in the last sector, and just can't believe it. Just so crazy.
I mean, you've been around the scene for a long time, whether it's in Rallycross, whether it's here in these off-road trucks over the last couple of years as well. But you've been through a lot. You've experienced your fair share of contact. When we talked in the build-up to this, the word was contact, but you were looking forward to that. How much fun is it being able to battle 3 wide, bumping doors, and taking body parts off the cars as you fly across the line?
Yeah, it's nuts, man. I mean, that whole race, it was just like one constant bumper to bumper battle with, you know, the best of the best out here. And I mean, we work for this every week. You know, this is the kind of race that we prepare for, always give the effort for. Unfortunately, circumstance, you know, it's tricky, but man, tonight it just went our way, and just unbelievable.
I mean, look forward from here now. You visited all these tracks once. What does that mean for you in your preparation, especially knowing that you work by yourself for a lot of this?
Yeah, it's good. I feel good about the base. I know, you know, we haven't shown race winning. You know, we haven't been in the track position to be able to be on the podium or win one of these things. But I always felt like the pace was pretty solid. If I could just nail a qualifying lap or hit an invert, I always knew we would be right up there with the Williams Esports truck. So really glad to be able to show that finally tonight and pull it off.
Well, it's been 1,378 days since October 4th, 2018, a date that I'm sure you'll remember for a long time. This is a day that will live on as well. Congratulations, Josh. We can see what it means. We'll see you in 7 days' time.
Yeah, thank you guys very much.
That is a victory worth remembering. That is a victory worth waiting for as well. Well, for Cam Peterson, again, the tale of two sort of days. One, going well, winning the first race of the evening. The second, technical issues again stop him from taking to the track for the majority of the second race of the evening. Cam Peterson joins us now, and Cam, talk to us about what you're thinking right now. What's going through your head?
Just looking forward now, and just got to aim to have as much fun as possible now and help out my teammates. That's pretty much all I'm thinking.
For a man that came into this with championship aspirations, things out of your control, at the very least, you must be somewhat relieved that you've had the pace here to be a 3-time winner out of the 8 races we've had so far.
Yeah, and if you take away the the races where I had connection issues, I've won over half of them. So, you know, I can feel the success. It feels good. You know, it feels good to have an interview with you and, you know, to be in the spotlight for a little bit here. But, you know, it is what it is. I just got to bite the bullet, and yeah, it is what it is.
I'm so sorry, Cam, that we're talking to you in these circumstances. I can tell that you are quite frustrated right now. We'll leave you be, but we look forward to seeing you potentially back at the front in 7 days' time.
Thank you. Just got to thank everybody at Jim Beaver Esports, General Tire, Next Level Racing, everyone at Shenandoah Shine, awesome group of guys, always supporting iRacers. Everyone watching, our paint guy, Zach Knowles. Yeah, and the family and friends, thank you so much.
Cam Peterson, winner of the first race of the evening. You could tell from both drivers there's emotion, one jubilant if relieved, the other frustrated and confused.
And it's just the tale of this championship so far. I mean, Peterson was the favorite coming into this season. He was my pick, honestly, to win the championship. And now, not just 2 races with these issues, but now 3 races with these issues. He's winning when he's not having these issues. So I wouldn't count him fully out of the championship. But now, as we go into only 8 points paying rounds left, we're over halfway done now. He's going to need nothing short of a miracle to be at the top when the championship is said and done at Crandon in 4 weeks.
And let's show you the points. Let's not just talk about them. Let's visually show you them so you understand what we are talking about here. Because realistically, Cam Peterson is looking like he's on the outside looking in. 100 points back from Keaton Swain, who inherits the championship lead after Connor Barry's roll. And now I look at these points. Felix Roy's in the mix, but struggled a little bit today. Josh Edmondson, very strong today. Killian Delomo showing his pace. But the gap that Keaton Swain and Connor Barry have got at the front, Josh, with their consistency building up to this halfway mark of the championship, those are the 2 that we're focused on in this championship hunt.
And keep in mind, both of those drivers still with only 1 win on the season. Keaton Swain, nothing worse than a top 10. Connor Barry, this is his first points-paying race. Bark River 2, mark it down as the only race so far this season that Swain has not finished in the top 5, and it also is the only race that he has not finished entirely. So now, Connor Barry has that out of the way. Can he get the points lead back, or will Keaton Swain continue to be as consistent as he has been through the first 8 points paying rounds and keep that up for the remainder of the season?
Half done, half to go. Make sure every Wednesday to join us here on the iRacing Esports Network for what is the best championship level series I have ever seen in sim racing. Do remember as well, while we're off for a week, tomorrow the iRacing Esports Network is back on the front page of Twitch. iRacing partners up with the National MS Society for the Peachtree 3, a special event with charity on the focus, but plenty of fun to be had. Join us tomorrow night for all of the action, and if you want to donate, you might just be able to make sure Chad Knaus or iRacing Head honcho Steve Myers has some difficulty to fight their way back from, and difficulty was seen today by many a driver. However, two enjoyed the jubilation and the success that comes with victory. For Cam Peterson, race 1 went perfect, race 2 slightly tougher, but it was Josh Fox almost 1,400 days later that wins again in the iRacing World Championship Series. We'll see you in 7 days time to kick off the second half of the season. For now though, for everyone at iRacing, for everyone at RaceSpot TV, for Josh Lee and myself, Arjuna Kankipati, we bid you farewell from the rolling hills of Michigan and Bark River International Raceway.